Thank you very much, Peter. And President Jacob Zuma will be speaking tomorrow. But the economic woes of South Africa, I don't know if those will come up. There are a lot of other issues, but they continue. And the World Bank today halving its forecast for growth in this country this year. The bank revised its expectations from 1.1% earlier this year to just 0.6%, saying growth remains too fragile to make a dent in poverty. And its latest country update, it flags lagging innovation and weak diversification in South Africa's exports as growth barriers. So what does this all mean? What can we do to fix this? Joining us in studio is World Bank Program Leader Sebastian de Soos. Thank you for being with us, Sebastian. So, cutting your growth forecast in half, does that mean the World Bank wasn't too sure of what it was saying a few months ago, or have things dramatically changed in just a few months?
A lot has happened since January, and we actually revised our forecast in April already after the downgrade. And now I think it's more important, instead of talking about forecast, is looking at half of the year has passed, and it's very likely that GDP growth in 2017 will be lower than population growth for the third year in a row after 15 and 16. And it's very concerning because we've seen an increase in poverty from 2011 to 15.
So people are getting poorer, basically.
People have gotten poorer from 11 to 15, and now with negative per capita income growth in the last 3 years, it is very likely that it's getting even worse. We have there's a statistic which is extremely concerning that we worked with the StatSA that suggests that in the last 5 years, 80% of South African population has experienced poverty at some point in time. Not always. They've been in and out of poverty for some of them, but 80% of the population has experienced poverty one day.
That is staggering.
That's very concerning.
And we are basically responsible, according to what you're saying. We can no longer blame the poor global environment in which we are in.
There are always external factors, but there are internal factors that are very important. And in this report, we focused on what we call innovation, bringing new products to the country, to the firm, new processes, new ideas. And what we've seen in recent years is a decline in efforts to innovate in the country. It's very difficult to measure, but for instance, when you look at the expenditure in research and development that are being made by firms, there's been a very strong decline. There's been a strong decline in the purchase of high-tech equipment in the manufacturing sector. And this translates in low diversification, low growth, negative productivity growth, decline in productivity. The country is becoming less efficient by the day. With the same amount of resources, labor and capital, you are producing less today. We are producing less today in South Africa than 6 or 7 years ago.
Innovation, isn't that seen as sort of a higher level? You know, you start with the nuts and bolts, you get your factories doing mundane things working first. Shouldn't we be focusing there, I guess, given our problems with education levels, or should we say, no, we must be innovating?
I mean, yes, you're very right to say that there are different types of innovations. There are those very fancy innovations that's really at the end of the world, at the frontier of markets, but
like Apple and Elon Musk and
all these things that really science fiction almost for most people. But what we say in this report that there's a lot of innovation that can create jobs in the country and that can facilitate also the life of many people and the poor in particular.
So how do you encourage that?
So there are different.
What are we talking about?
First of all, you have to recognize that you have a lot of assets in innovation that are not completely tapped. You have a great academic system. An excellent academic system, which does not trickle down to the population, but it's there. You have a network.
You mean at university level? University, we've got problems in schools.
Yes, of course, but you have a tradition of academic excellence. You have top universities.
Okay, great.
That's an asset. The second asset that you have is that you have a concentration of entrepreneurs and innovators in some cities. And it is very important to have this concentration because that's where you create the ideas, the new ideas, the models, the system. Those two you have in Cape Town and Joburg. What you miss is young firms, an environment for young firms to grow. And we call them gazelles, we call them unicorns, and this is because the business environment is not conducive enough for them. That's one. You miss skills, as you mentioned. Okay, you don't produce enough skills. You have an ICT system, information and technology sector, which is extremely expensive. We all know the cost of internet in this country, the reliability of it, and it's a major deterrent to innovation. You have trade costs which are extremely high, and when you want to innovate, you need to import a lot of goods because you bring in a lot of technology. You need to be able to export them too. If you make an innovation and you want to benefit and expand and you break into new markets, you want to export them. But if it's too costly, you can't.
So what are the low-lying fruits that South Africa, if you are the finance minister or the trade minister, that you could implement in a few months, and we're not doing it to reap the benefits?
Nothing is easy, but we believe that a reform in the ICT sector, a regulatory framework of the ICT sector,
So bring internet costs down. Urgent.
that would eventually bring in internet costs down, is something that you can do. There is no reason why in South Africa we are paying 5 times the price that people in Egypt pay for the same amount of data. That's one.
Yeah.
We're thinking also that because there is a brand drain in this country that we've observed in this report, notably through LinkedIn data with whom we partner for this report, that you need to contain this brand drain as much as possible by giving opportunities to people in startups, but also you can encourage people to come to the country through easier migration.
And the problem is the people with means often go, the people who could perhaps put money into new businesses. We were so worried about the brain drain a few years ago. Can you pinpoint who's leaving, why, that sort of thing yet?
It's very difficult to measure, but yes, I mean, again, there are different sources of information. At the receiving end, the countries know who's coming in their countries. So a lot of OECD countries are receiving South Africans and skilled South Africans. And we know from LinkedIn data that we've analyzed carefully that there are some type of skills who are leaving the country and are definitely missing today for innovation in particular. All the ICT sector, all the ICT skills,
So the programmers are leaving.
the programmers, the Java specialists, most of them I even don't know what they mean exactly, but they are in high demand on those markets in Joburg and Cape Town.
And they can get a job anywhere.
They can get a job anywhere. You see the wage premium is huge for these people. They're making a lot of money. We need to bring in more people in the country.
My final question to you is, you were talking about productivity, and I think South Africans need to understand why, when we've got the same people at their machines, using the same machines, they are producing less. And I think it's important, because you could say, oh, our workers are lazy. Do you know what I mean? So given the costs, the salary, they're not producing. But it's much more complicated than that. I mean, we don't have the efficiency, the technological skills, all of that. What is our productivity problem?
Yeah, nobody is lazy. It's certainly not an issue of laziness. The skills composition is one problem, because if you have the same number of people but they are less skilled, they will be less productive. That's one element. If you have a brain drain, people are. Second is the composition of your capital, your equipment, your machine, etc. If you don't replace them with new innovations, they become less effective.
So if we're not getting new cameras, for example.
For instance, if you don't replace your cameras, for after some time they become almost obsolete, and so you're reducing your efficiency. And third, there is a lot of installed capacities in the mining sector, for instance, but also in manufacturing sector, machines, etc., were not used at all. They're just sitting, waiting for the demand.
Sure. All right, this isn't a great outlook, but thank you for explaining possible ways that we can start to deal with it. Sebastian Dessous from the World Bank. We take a short break. In fact, let's just take you through the numbers first.